Thank you everyone for joining me today. I am Stephanie Steffer and I am the business director with CViConnect. My background is as a teacher for the visually impaired for 10 years. In addition to my VI teaching certification, I'm also endorsed in early childhood education as well as holding the CVI Range Perkins-Broman endorsement. Okay, before we begin, there's just a few things I want to go over with everyone. I ask that everyone remains muted until the end, and then we'll answer some questions from the group. If you think of things as we're going through, because I know that's how my brain works, feel free to enter that into the chat. I'll be monitoring that the best that I can, but then we'll definitely go back through any of those comments at the end and answer any questions for you. If for some reason you leave the meeting and still want to keep in touch with me and chat and ask me any questions there, I will drop my email in the chat just shortly. And that way you can get a hold of me. So I'll go ahead and do that now for you guys. It's Stephanie S at CViConnect.co. So that's STEPHANIES at CViConnect.co. It's not .com, it's just .co. So sometimes we get people who add the extra M on there, and that's not, I just want to make sure you guys know. Also, like I said, I will be recording today's session. After I've added the closed captioning, we will add our video to the YouTube channel. We have a CViConnect YouTube channel. And that way, if you want to share this with anyone, you can feel free to do so. Or if you want to go back and rewatch it again, you're welcome to do that. And then I'm also going to add our YouTube link in here, and that way if you weren't able to catch any of our previous sessions and want to go back and look at that, you can. Also, if any of you are current subscribers, there's some great how-tos and walkthrough videos for different things in the CViConnect Pro app there as well. And then the last thing I want to share with you guys before we get started is just our website. So that's CViConnect.co, and if anyone wants to go there and check out what we've got to offer, feel free to do so. And like I said, if you guys have any questions afterwards, or you guys want for me to meet with your team, just shoot me an email and we can make arrangements, and I'd be happy to help you guys out with anything I can. So our main focus today is on making our activities lively and move. And let's be honest, when we're talking about kids with CVI, they need movement, right? So last time we met a month ago, we worked on adding new activities to the platform. And we're going to kind of repeat some of that and then start adding some things that will make it move, okay? And if you've never been to any of our live events, I always try, I mean, everything I'm doing is going to be on the CViConnect platform, but I always try to add as much in as I can in general about CVI too, so that even if you're not using the platform, that hopefully you'll still find some information that we share here beneficial. Let me go ahead and share my screen. Okay, so in here, I am looking at my sample library that I have created with just random things in here. And so the first thing that I want to do is I'm going to go into this snow phase 1 activity that I created. And it's a brand new activity, so I'm going to hit OK, and it's just going to let me go ahead and edit it. And so the first thing I have to do is add something to the activity. And so when I'm thinking of somebody who's in phase 1, I'm going to need lots of light, lots of movement, things to capture their visual attention, right? So last time we met, we added some squares and added pictures and things like that to the activity. But when I'm thinking about a child who's in phase 1, they're not really ready yet to be looking at specific images or not interpreting those images for sure. So I'm going to scroll down and look at some of my other options that I have in the activity designer. And one of my favorites to use with someone who's in phase 1 is this particle. So I'm going to go ahead and touch that. And you see this red ball that just kind of starts to glow. And that's one of our options. But I want something different. So I'm going to go use my toolbox up at the top in the right-hand corner. And when I touch it, it's like a hammer and a wrench. When I touch that, I get this option that pops up. And again, I have all these different things to choose from. For those of you who don't know, I'm from Michigan, and so snow and being winter is kind of a hot topic for us. So I'm going to go ahead and do, so I see blizzard. Oh, that's got a lot of options for me. And then this one's snow. It's just a little bit less maybe. So I'm going to go with the snow. And maybe we're doing a winter theme at school this week. And so I'm just going to have this whole thing be the activity. And maybe this is just one of my activities, and maybe this is like a warm up for them. So I'm going to save changes to that. And then I just want to see what it looks like. Oh, as I run the activity, it begins to have the snowfall. And so the way I would use this is, like I said, if it's a warm up for a student, especially in phase one, I'd want to use that look detection. So in the top right-hand corner, I would turn that face on by touching the face. And then it's going to capture when the child is looking at it and when the child is looking away, and will indicate whether or not this is enough movement and light information to get the child to look at the screen, right? So then I go back to my drawing board. Let's say in this example, this wasn't enough for my student. So I ran that activity, and while it had movement to it and those white little snowflakes are falling down, it just wasn't enough. So let's look at some other options that we have. We have this great big star flashes going across. Whew, it's got a lot going on. It's kind of lagging for you guys, but on the iPad screen, it goes really quick. I don't know if you guys can see the difference between my little camera on the side, but it's going really fast. So that might be a little bit too much for some of our students, depending on some of their needs that they have. I'm trying to look for, here we go. I like to add this one because I can do a couple different things with this. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna have this here, and while it has bright lights and flashing, I actually wanna make a couple more of these. Before I do that, I'm gonna first take this, I'm gonna change the title by selecting the whole name. So if you were with us last time, remember that we always want to name our items, whether it's an image or a particle, so that when we look back later at the data, we know exactly what our students were touching at on the screen or what was capturing their attention. We can actually see exactly what's on there. So it's really important when you're creating your activities that everything you add to it that you name. So I'm just going to call this the blue glowing dot. So now I want this to move around on the screen to add even more attention for the student. So what I want to do is go to that tools again. At the bottom of this pop-up box, you'll see properties and then events. We're going to touch events. And I want it so that when the child touches this, that it's going to do something. So now what I'm going to do is go at the bottom again. You'll have a whole bunch of different folders. And when you touch the folders, different options will pop up. So I could add a sound, or I could change colors. I could change the background. I could start a new activity. There's a whole bunch of different options. But for today, I want this item to move. So when I touch this, I want it to move in a circular motion. Where it says square at the top there, that's the name of the item that you want to move. So when I touch that particle, I'm going to erase this and replace it with the name of the item, which in this case is the blue glowing dot, and go down there. Okay, so I can look at the other options that I have within this box here. It tells me that I can move within a radius of 50, which is, you know, once you get going with the activities, you'll see just how wide that is when you're looking at the particles on the screen. And then I have it that it repeats, which is good. That's what I want it to do. If I didn't, I could just erase that and type no. And then if I want it to reverse when it was done, nope, because I want it to just keep going around and around. So that's fine the way it is. And it's going to move in a clockwise pattern. So the rest of that looks good to me. I'm going to hit done in the lower right-hand corner. And so then I'm going to see what this looks like. So I get an idea of if it's going to be a good fit for my student or if I still need to change things. I'm going to save changes. And then in the upper right-hand corner, press that play button. Remember, it's only going to work once I touch it. So now I'm going to touch the particle, and now I can see it moving around. I apologize again for the delay. If you can see me in your corner of your screen, you can see that the circle, the dot is flashing in a circle, just the way I wanted it to. But now after thinking about it, that's cool, but you know, my student doesn't really have a great hand-eye, you know, look touch. So I don't think that that's going to work for this student now that I think about it. Instead, I think what would be better is if I made it so that when the activity started, that blue light was flashing. So what I'm going to do instead is go into my activity properties, which is, I'm sorry, let me back up. In the far right next to that tool, you have the toolbox with the hammer and the wrench crossing each other. To the right of that are 3 dots. So I'm going to touch those 3 dots, and then you'll get a pop-up. And then we're going to go to the activity properties. And so instead of telling the activity to do something based on one specific item, I want to change the entire activity all at once. Okay, I'm going to talk to the entire thing. Again, at the bottom, it says events. And this time, I want to do something when the activity starts. So as soon as I press play, I want that item to move. So instead of me having to touch something, now the action is the activity is going to start, then I want it to move. So now I'm going to go in here and change this here to the name of that item again. Press return. Again, there's nothing in there that I want to change. I am going to actually, I'll do this for you guys. I'll change the radius to make it smaller. We'll do a 25 radius just so you can see how different that then spins kind of within itself. So the smaller the radius, the tighter the spin, the bigger the radius, the wider the spin is going to be on that. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and save changes. I fat fingered it and hit save changes and exit. So it took me back to this main screen here. That's okay. I can just press play right from here. And so now when I press play, it's already spinning and I didn't have to touch that item to make it do that. So if I want things, if you've seen some of our activities already, you can see some of them just by pressing play. There are things moving and happening on the screen. The child doesn't have to engage with it in order to make that happen. So I can do that again. I'll show you guys what mine looks like in the corner. So what I like to do, so go back into that editing. In order to edit again, you hit the pencil in the lower left-hand corner. So for a student in phase 1, I might take this blue flashing light and make that like all over the screen. So you have a ton of those moving around on the screen and doing all of this, right? So in order to do this, you're going to, again, go to the 3 dots in the upper right-hand corner. And I'm going to hit the very first one here. It says copy selected graphic. So I'm going to copy that. Now when I drag it away, I've got another one. And then I could do the same thing, copy selected graphic. Before I copy too many, I need to make sure I go in and I have the original blue glowing dot. I need to make sure that I change the names of these. And I'll show you why in just a second. We've got this big guy over here. Perfect. I'll go ahead and copy that graphic again. All right, so now if I were to play the activity right now as is, I would still have those other dots there and flashing, but they're not going to also be moving. I have to tell the activity that I want all of those things to be moving and how I want them to move in order for that to happen. So the really cool part is you can customize each dot to move in a different pattern if you'd like. So I'm going to work with this one first. So I'm going to copy the name of it. Go to those 3 extra dots. We're going to go to activity properties, events, and when start. So here is the item we already had moving before. I liked the way that one's working, so I'm not going to change that. I'm going to add another motion. So I'm going to come down. And now this one, I want to have move in a circular motion. We'll do another circular. Again, replace the word square with the name of your item. And then this one though, I want to move in a much wider radius. I really want a big circle to come from this one. So I'm going to increase that one to 100. And let's move this one in a counterclockwise. So I'm going to tell this one no. Let me explain here. Where it says clockwise, I typed in the word no. So instead of it spinning clockwise, it's going to spin counterclockwise. Okay. We're going to hit done. And then we have to edit this last one. So again, I need to copy the name, go to my extra 3 dots, go to activity properties, events, at start. And then this one, let's pick something different. Let's do a rectangular motion. Now you'll notice I can drag them up into this white space anywhere I want, but in order for them to be activated, if you only have one, it can just be anywhere in the space and it won't matter. Once you close it, the system will kind of organize it on that left side of your screen. But in order for it to work and you have them all connected together, you're just going to link those boxes below. And you can kind of move them around however you want on the screen. It doesn't matter, but you just need them. They're kind of like Legos. You got to click them all together in order for them to work as one motion when the activity begins. So again, I'm going to select all and replace with it that text we had in there. And I'm going to leave everything else the same for this one, and we'll see what that looks like. Oops, don't want to disconnect it. All right, and then I'm going to hit done now that everything looks the way I want it to. So let's take a look and see what our activity looks like. I'm going to hit done in the upper left-hand corner. And then I'm going to run my activity. And you can see, oh, I wish it wasn't glitching so bad. If you can see if your view allows you to see me in your Zoom meeting, I'm going to show you my screen the way I see it. And so you get the movement going around. The one on the bottom, you can see has that rectangular motion that we assigned to it. And then we have, oops, looks like I made a copy and one of them isn't moving. You can see up here, I had a copy on top of it and I didn't drag it away. So I need to move that somewhere else and give it a new name. But this is a great place to test. I could have them all over the place and moving. And this would tell me, if this visual information is something that would capture the kid's attention. This is going to tell me as an educator how much movement, how much light, which color might be a preference for the child when I'm looking at the data afterwards, right? So if I just have one item on there and it's not really getting their attention, but I load 10 of them on there and I get the child's attention, now I know movement's that much more important for them. Okay, so this is what CViConnect is all about. You can adapt and edit these activities right there on the fly if you want. You can have a bunch of them preloaded if you're more of a preparer and like to have it all ready beforehand with a lot of different options. And then you could present them to the child and kind of see how they work with it. But it's really important for you to take the pieces of information that you're getting from that and then figure out what do I need to do differently, not only on the iPad, but in other ways that we're presenting information. If this is what the child needs, what other visual opportunities can I give them so that we can continue to advance and improve their vision and allow them to use more visual access along the way. All right, so we're going to quit this one. Another one that I wanted to show you guys is this winter activity. So I was doing something earlier and we added these red gloves. And so this would be actually, I think this one, I'm gonna delete these really fast. Back up so I can show you guys how to do it, okay? We're gonna hit that plus. Anytime I wanna add something to the activity, I'm gonna add the plus. So I'm gonna touch the plus. I want it to be a square. Instead of just a colored square, I want it to be a picture. So I'm gonna touch picture and select from iPhotos. In this case, we're gonna say this is the child's specific pair of mittens. We're gonna use this image. We're gonna give it a new name. You can be as descriptive as you like. I like to give the color that's with it. So again, when I'm looking back at my data based on what they're touching or looking at on the screen, whichever data I'm looking at, touch detection or look detection, I can see exactly which features might be grabbing their attention, and I know more and more about what they're viewing. So we're gonna click done. Okay, so right now, this is all I have. I just have red mittens. But let's say I want it to say something, or let's do that. Let's say we want it to talk, right? So we're going to copy the name of the item, and then we're going to events, and when touched. This time we're going to do audio visual. So this time I want it to, you have an option of just this one where it says say something, and this one's real simple. I'm gonna change this text to say mittens. Okay, done. Now I'll press play, and now I might get feedback, so I might have to mute and then come back to you guys, because sometimes when I do these, I get a little bit of feedback. But I'm gonna touch it.
Mittens.
Were you guys able to hear it or no? Okay, I see some head nods. Perfect. So, and it didn't even give us echo and feedback. So that's awesome. Something's working correctly for us today in the world of technology. So that you could have it work just like that. Maybe for your student, you need a different voice. Maybe you need to speak slower or faster. All of our students have a different preference when it comes to that speech. So again, we'll go back to events when touched. And instead of it just this option, we're going to throw that in the trash and do something different instead. Let's go over here and let's do, we'll try this one. It's got a lot of different options for us. All right, so it says what to say. Right now it's going to say hello world. While that's nice and friendly, I'm going to change that to be a little more relevant to our activity and say mittens. The next one says with speech rate regular. So if I click the drop down menu, I can have it speak it nice and slow for the student. And then it's set as this is your system default, which is going to be however your iPad is set up. It should use that same Siri voice that you have set up. So some of you have your British or whatever accents you can do nowadays in Siri. That would be applicable there, but you can change it to a man's voice or the boy's voice. Let's try that one today. Let's say done. We're going to do save changes. And now I've got my volume all the way up, so hopefully you guys will be able to hear it. I'm going to press play, touch.
Mittens.
And it's really slowed down a lot more, okay? So that just gives you another option for you. Oops, let's go back in there one more time. So again, one of the things we were talking about is a lot of different options as far as movement goes. So the other thing I wanted to show you, just at the, just at the tail end of our meeting here, because we've only got like a few minutes left. I've had a lot of people asking me, I have several activities and I want them to link together. So when I start with one, kind of like turning pages. So I'm going to exit out of here. Okay. And let's say we wanted to use our snow with the blue lights that we made, all those flashing. That's going to be our warm up. I am going to, the second activity that you want, so the second page in your book, the page you're going to turn to, you're going to go to the info button, the I at the bottom right-hand corner, and you're going to copy ID. Okay. Then you're going to go into the activity you want to be the first page. So in this case, the snow page, phase 1 activity that we created, that's going to be like their warm up. Let's just pretend for this instance that this is the warm up, and then we're going to turn the page and see the mittens. Okay. So here, what I want to happen is when the child touches, let's say the background. So I'm going to put the yellow box around the background, go to edit, touch background. When that happens, I'm going to click activity from the bottom menu. navigate to activity with ID of. So remember we copied that activity ID. Now we're going to paste it in here, press return, and done. And so now I didn't want it to be a specific spray because I felt like that, or I'm sorry, not spray, the image, the sparkles, because I didn't want that to be such a hard touch. So I picked the background for this one. Usually I have like an arrow on the bottom is kind of like my page turn indicator, but you can make it however you want. So we're going to save changes. And let's test it out and see how it works. So we're going to press play. And now if I touch on the background, it's going to turn into our mittens activity. And then I can touch mittens and I can hear it talk. So you can layer and add all these things as you see fit. You could have it so that as soon as this mittens activity loads, the mittens are spinning around or going in that square. Don't be afraid to go into this activity designer where you go to your events and when touched and just play with some of these options down here. There are so many different functions it can do for you. And it's really kind of fun once you get in there. But start with something basic. Like I said, do the when touched and pick one of these. Make it say something or make it move. Do one. And then slowly you can build in these gaps, these different extra things. So you could make it say something and spin. You could make it say something and then cheer. So let's say that was the correct answer. They were working on, what do you wear in the winter? They chose mittens and it was like, yay. And you can add all the way in the very beginning of the audio visual, you could have picked cheer on the far left there. Okay, so there's lots and lots of options for you. It can get a little overwhelming at first, but don't let that scare you away. It's really exciting, and you can't break it. So just get in there and play around and have some fun. If you get lost, get stuck somewhere, shoot me an email and I'll help you work through it and we'll get you back through it. This video will be posted, like I said, back on YouTube. So you'll also have that as a resource to rewatch if that would help you as well. I'm going to stop there because I know we will only have a little bit more time before we're going to get kicked off our meeting. And I want to be very conscious of your time this evening too, so that you guys can move on with whatever's next in your day-to-day events. So anyone have any questions? I'm looking in the chat and I don't see anything. River, yes, we will have that posted just like the other ones. And then also, like I said, you can always share the previous ones too. I know I've seen you join me a few times, so I appreciate you having you come on with us. Not a problem, River. You're welcome. The other question I have for you guys is I have some other ideas in mind for some future events, but if there are things that you're running into and you'd prefer me to tackle, please feel free to either put that in the comment box now or shoot me an email. Like for example, this linking activities, I can go into that a little bit more in depth if you guys would like. I know that was a question somebody had asked. But if there's anything, I would rather this be about what you guys need specifically. If you guys don't have ideas, I've got plenty. I can always talk about it and show you more and more that we have to offer in the system. But yeah, whatever you guys need, let me know. If you are new to CViConnect and you would like me to, I see some of you are current subscribers, so welcome back. It's good to see you guys. Those of you who are not current subscribers though, if your district would benefit from talking to me or would like a demo or has any questions about the system and how it works and what's going on with it, just shoot me an email and I'd be happy to walk you guys through that and answer any questions specific to your district and how that might work for you and your team. All right, everybody. If no one else has any other questions, I will let you guys go ahead and enjoy the rest of your day. Thanks so much for joining me. Have a good evening.